Interviews with Shanna, and today we have one of my mentors. I'm so honored to have and grateful to have him on the show, the OG of podcasting, at least for me. Jason Bonroda, JVO in my world is like the one that got me started. And at the time when I was an engineer in a cubicle, listening to him and his partner in a podcast show, that's kind of, at the time it was a dream for me. And now I'm here partly because of Jason Van Orden. AVO in my world, that's how I call him. And
Yeah.
he is now based out of NYC, but at the time when I was listening to him, he was a nomad. He was also a former engineer, and that's how I kind of latched on to his story, because I was an engineer at the time. And now he's helping established coaches and consultants scale their impact and income, not through podcasting though, and he'll share with us what he's doing now. Jason, welcome to Muse Interviews with Shanna. How are you doing today?
Yeah. Hi, Shanna. I'm doing great. It's such a pleasure to reconnect with you, have this conversation with you. And yeah, just have loved watching everything that you've been doing over the years. This is awesome.
So you've done a lot of pivots in the online business world. And I think one of the things that I want to ask you, because I kind of, know your story in the past, what's been your inspiration to this most recent pivot that you've done?
Yeah. So this is a really great question because I do think there's a quite a through line when I think about it through the different pivots. And without going too much in it, that was like early podcaster. So I was like a podcasting business consultant and then kind of like stumbled into Internet Business Mastery, which became a top 10 business show for a decade. So that became my focus to then working with coaches and consultants after that to now bringing AI into that. And the through line with each of those pivots is following my curiosity, is just having that radar up. And when I felt that it was time for a change, or I saw the right opportunity to experiment with, that I just fully went in and did that. When I first started podcasting, I had no idea that it was even going to go anywhere. But as a software engineer, I understood the tech of it. As somebody who had been doing some entrepreneurship and marketing, understood the business potential of it. And so, it was just a nice combination at that time of my unique talents, abilities, and interests, right? And I see AI very much like that. I mean, and AI is, even bigger, going to do even bigger things than podcasting. But yeah, as soon as I like, it really started hitting to where it was readily accessible to people, my curiosity just latched onto that. I'm like, oh, there's so much possibility here to help people get their message out. And so I dove in, started experimenting with it with myself, then helping clients with that. And now it's developed into quite like a main primary focus for my business.
Awesome. Can you share with us one of your client success stories? You wanted to share this case study that I think it will help a lot of our listeners who are tinkering a little bit with ChatGPT, but then there's a lot of also noise, I feel like, in social media about
Absolutely.
almost kind of like shaming you into using AI. And so everyone is
Right.
just kind of low key, not admittedly using AI, all that. So I would love to hear this success story.
Yeah, sure. As a quick foundation for this, the thing that has always been a mission, along with that curiosity, another through line for me, this mission is I've always really been passionate about helping people who have, an expertise, a unique perspective, methodology, a story, to share that in a way that helps them to reach and impact more of the people that they can uniquely serve in a way that only they can. And of course, because of the internet and all these wonderful channels that have come out over the last couple of decades and tools like AI, it has just increasingly gotten, easier and more powerful to do so. And so coming to this case study and this success story, there's a client of mine, Alexandra Beller, who is a choreographer, a director, an educator, and was also writing a book. This book was gonna be is gonna be a real culmination of her her varied career. She was also a modern dancer in one of the biggest modern dance companies in the world for many years. And so it's like a way to bring this all together, to really pick apart the creative process for performers. Now, the issue was she'd been working on it for several years, and as many authors do, you get stuck. You start hitting against a wall. Maybe you're like not sure like what you're trying to say, and it can become a real just like drain sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, we'll put it aside and then hopefully come back to it at some point. Well, she was ready the timing felt right to get it done, but she needed to find a way for it not to feel so heavy. And I said, well, have you thought about potentially using AI for this? And understandably, there was some reticence there, right? Like she's an artist, a creative, has this very human approach to the work that she does, and AI can feel very technical and very sometimes inhuman unless you know how to use it well. And so there was that resistance. I said, well, let's just give this a try and see how it goes because I kind of just described a little bit what it could do. Like I could create a custom AI for you that pulls together your last several years of content that you've been creating and putting out there. It could be like, materials from workshops that you've taught, just all of your IP and manuscripts that you have so far for this book. And we can train the AI on how to think in the way that you want it to think and really turn it into a thought partner for
Right.
you as you write this book, not just writing the book for you, because obviously she wanted it to be her voice, but a true thought partner that can help you make connections you might not see otherwise and hold back forward content that maybe you've forgotten you had, but it's like the exact right thing. Like how many of us who have been creating content and have expertise for years are sitting on all this stuff that is just like it's on your Google Drive or it's like lost in your, wherever, in your notes. So anyway, we put this together and she started playing around with it and writing with it and experimenting. And the end of that story, and we could dive into whatever parts you want, is that she was within just a handful of months able to not only finish the manuscript of the book, but also land a publishing deal with Bloomsbury, which is like an ideal publisher for this book. And also we did like a 90-person beta reader project that would not have happened without the help of the AI that really understood the project. So that's like elevating the book even. And now she's a full convert and likes talking about it. And that's where the case study came from, is her talking about, I don't feel like I have to hit my head against the wall anymore. And just to wrap the story up, one of my favorite things that she says is like, if all of my ideas and content are like stars in the sky and it can be dazzling and fun to look at, but a little overwhelming, sometimes you're like, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at here. But with AI, you can say like, hey, let's take these 8 stars and start drawing some constellations with it and playing around with it. And then, something will come into focus. She's like, that's what I have been trying to say, right? And then boom, like so it's amplifying her voice and her perspective and expertise, not replacing it. And so that's been really gratifying. And that's just a good example of the type of AI solutions I like to bring forward for my clients to help them amplify and scale their income, their impact, their reach, whatever their goals are, but in a way that's still fully aligned with who they are and how they want to show up in the world.
I love the stars analogy. That makes total sense. And I think for creatives too, it's we create a lot. And then and in fact,
Yeah.
we tend to, if we have an idea, we go, oh, let's create something new, even though this idea was probably something from another idea we had,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you like what would be your advice or your first step you would tell, a creative like that? I love that it wasn't a typical coaching or a consultant, but really a true creative, right?
Right.
In a way that's actually I wouldn't even think AI could help because,
Mm.
dancing, that's very physical. That's actually like AI can't do that, right? Like
Right.
what
Yeah.
would be like your first advice for someone who's like, yeah, I don't know if it's still for me.
Yeah. Part of the issue is that a lot of people get stuck on just like you said, there's a lot of noise around AI. And so then they're like, oh, if I just find the right prompt, or they, keep grabbing these prompts and throwing it in, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it's like, that's not quite me or what I was looking for. And usually what's missing is that the AI just needs a lot more context. And we need to learn to like, I talk to mine all day long, again, like a thinking partner or like an assistant or an intern or, all of those things combined in one. And so, if you were to hire somebody, bring them into your company, there's lots of context that you need to give them in terms of how you do business, who your ideal clients are, what's the voice and the brand that we show up with, what are our offers, what is our current strategy and goals, all these things. And so the more you give that context to AI, even when you're just having it help you, whether, helping you make decisions within your business or helping you create or repurpose content or helping you do sales follow-up. I mean, these are all things that my clients and I use AI for. It knows how to do it in a way that fully represents, your vision, values, goals, strengths, etc. So to answer your question, even without doing something as, more sophisticated like we did with Alexandra, if you just create a document and call it, about my business or whatever, and just spend some time, you can even speak it into, use dictation, and then AI is so good at even taking rambling thoughts and like organize it and stuff. But the point is to end up with like some kind of document stored on your computer or in Google Documents that just gives all of this key context, who you are, who you serve, what you do, what your offers are. Um, and you can even have it analyze your voice and how you write and things like that as well. But then if you do nothing but just have that around and attach that when you start a new thread or prompt, because most of these tools now will allow you to just like upload a document to it, and he's like, hey, I need to write a new email series for my nurture sequence, attach that, like, and here's what we need to do, and then it has all of that to go off of. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just to like really just pour context into it, even in terms of like, yeah, I really struggle with this. Sometimes this can be hard for me, or I really don't want to sound like, A, B, or C like other people. Like just, tell it what you do or don't like, or what's in your head. And it does just a really great job, again, like connecting those dots and finding just the right combination of things to bring it all together in a way that either you might not have seen, or it would have taken you a long longer to bring it all together. And so it just gets you closer, and now you can bring it across the finish line really easily.
What is your favorite AI tool, or do you have like a set of favorite tools that you use, or
Yeah, well, I mean, the one that I use the most has been ChatGPT, just because, I've invested a lot of time now into customizing it and getting it going. But, I will pop over to things like Perplexity AI, sometimes really great for research, right? And searching for specific things you want to bring together with references. And I do know that Claude, some people find that Claude works better for creative writing, and I have used it for that before. But now I've also really trained ChatGPT well how to write pretty close to my style. Like it has a lot of my content that it's analyzed, and it knows how to approximate that as well. So I'm a big fan of like, hey, pick the one that's going to work for you. But I just happen to use ChatGPT the most with myself and my clients. But any of these things we're talking about here, you could use whatever model works best for you.
awesome. Oh, I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit more here. What's been
Mhm.
your proudest moment as a business owner so far?
My proudest moment. Well, I mean, honestly, it's like whenever I get to like reconnect with somebody like you, and of course, you deserve all the credit for the effort and everything you've done to get to where you're at. But then, to get back on and reconnect with you and have you say, "Oh yeah, like you played this one key part in my journey years ago, and here we are." And that happens like even now with a podcast that hasn't been around for several years, but just all these people that followed me way back when and have like continued to come in and out of my sphere, and we bump into each other, and just seeing the awesome things that they end up doing and the value they're putting out in the world. And that's just a way to like, reverberate impact. And
Right.
so that's the thing that I enjoy the most.
Cool. Well, I'm happy to be one of your one of
Yeah.
your students.
Yeah, it's great.
What's your best advice for, I think going back to my comment earlier about how some people are just kind of tinkering with it, because I think you and I know as former engineers, we've done software stuff, we've done coding, we know that, your outputs is going to be as good as your input. And that's why we're
Yeah.
all about like put as much information as you can. Like, what is your best advice for someone who is kind of tinkering but not quite sure where to fully invest or dive in with AI?
Yeah. So one piece of advice that comes to mind is just find one specific use case. So one specific place in your business and your processes that you're like, it would be really nice to make this easier, faster, or better, or simpler in some way. And then really experiment with how to get AI to help you especially well with that thing. So for example, it might be like, I mean, I'll just tell you one thing, even after 20 years of plus of being an entrepreneur, like I still struggle sometimes with like sales outreach and follow up, right? Which is a really important part if you're going to like find and enroll clients on a regular basis. And so, one thing that I've done is figured out how to have AI, I can take it take like an email exchange with someone I had a few months back and put it in there, give it a little bit of context and say, hey, I'd love to follow up with this person, but I don't want to sound, pushy, but I want to like show them how I really think that right now could be a good time, and creates that bias to action and helps me get, past some of those friction points,
Mhm.
especially as somebody with ADHD that can sometimes just get very distracted easily or procrastinate very easily. So find that one use case and then figure out like, yeah, what kind of prompting, how to best give it what you need to get back what you need. And then in doing that, you'll learn a lot of skills that you can start applying to other things. Okay, now I want it to help me repurpose my podcast content to send out across social media, or now I want it to. So that's the best advice I think I get in terms of how to really get started and develop those skills.
So you actually have a community of a networking event. I haven't gone, but I'm planning to. Can you invite our audience to your networking event about AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So this networking event brings together content creators and subject matter experts for collaborations. But just also networking is an important part of business, right? And it's always nice to have a place where you can bump into like-minded people. So a friend of mine and I, we started this during COVID. It's called GEM, GEM, and we wanted to make a networking event that just felt different than some of what we had put out there, and where you felt like you really got to know people well. It didn't have some of that same kind of posturing that happens and just feels like, I don't know, you're back in high school or something. And that uses really thoughtful questions and themes to get people interacting more than just like, hey, what do you do, what do I do, how can we help each other, which is fine, that will come. And so we meet on the second Thursday of every month for 90 minutes, and people come for, an hour, and then they have to leave, and that's fine too. But it's a series of breakout rooms where we put you in with people and thoughtful questions. And in addition to meeting people, we want you to walk away with a key insight that will help you with a goal or challenge that you are working on right now. And so we'll have themes like, I'm trying to think of one we've done, maybe like a theme one month might be like referrals and how to like get more referrals. And so a lot of our discussions will be around that. But I also talk a lot about AI, because towards the end, we'll do like longer breakout rooms on a variety of topics. You pick the one that interests you. And lately, for the last several months, it's always been me sharing some cool, and in my room has been me sharing some cool new thing I'm excited about when it comes to AI.
Right. And it's always I feel like it's just it's growing so fast, right? And I think the beauty of you is that you have always been at the edge of what's gonna rise. Like at the time it was internet business and podcasting, and now it's AI. And to me it's all like these things, it's for us, it's almost finding what's gonna be groundbreaking so that we can grow as fast in that
Yeah.
moment before it, be kind of, well, now it's towards the end and you're not really catching on the wave essentially.
Yeah. And I do enjoy being an early adopter like that. And again, curiosity has led me there. If you approach things with curiosity and just as experiments, a small series of experiments that kind of show you which direction, what's working, that's how whatever kind of the quote unquote forefront of your industry might be, like that's one way to do it in a way that can feel good to you. And I'm also realizing I didn't say the URL for the gem thing. If
Yeah,
anybody's
yeah.
interested in that, jasonvanorden.com/gem, GEM. And we'd be happy to have you.
I'll definitely add that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Jason, for sharing your story, your heart, and all the amazing things you're doing for established business owners, creatives, and for someone like me. It's been a joy, learning from you for a long time and still continue to learn from you as you kind of lead me into all these little nooks and crannies. And as you grow, I'm just like over here, like just really watching and being inspired by you. For folks who are listening and are like, yes, I need more of this outside of GEM, what is the best way to find you or connect with you?
Yeah, so jasonvanorden.com is my website. LinkedIn is where I'm the most active. If you'd like to connect with me over there, it'll be pretty easy to find me with a search. And then if people are interested in learning more about the whole, Alexandra and what we did there, there's a great case study that I put together that you can link in the show notes if you like, and people
Yeah,
can check that out to get a little bit more of an idea of, what that we went over it really quickly, but
yeah, yeah,
if they're
yeah.
like, oh, I want to hear a little bit more about what this was all about,
Mhm.
that walks through it a little bit more for them. So those would be my suggestions. I'd love to connect with anybody that any of this has resonated with.
I'll drop all the links in the show notes for you guys. Thank you again for hanging out with me on Muse Interviews. And to everyone tuning in, if you're ready to dive deep in AI and need more support, definitely get in touch with Jason. See y'all next time. Bye.